Got the lights? Okay. All right, it's 7 PM, Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Planning Commission meeting will come to order. Call to order, roll call, please.
Alan Egan present.
Lou Yang, present.
Tushar Desai, present.
John Eads, present.
Scott Wolfschlager, present.
Tom Osmond, present, virtually.
All right, thank you. Approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, deletions?
Chair and Commission staff does not have any amendments to the agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Alan moves. A second, please.
Second, John Eads.
Second, John Eads. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Chair, I'm sorry, point of order.
You got to take it
roll
by
call.
name.
Yeah.
Please start on that side.
Scott Wolfschlager, aye.
John Eads, aye.
Tushar Desai, aye.
Lou Yang, aye.
Alan Egan, aye.
Tom Osmond, aye.
All right. Motion passes. We are going to be going to item number D, approval of minutes for July 15, 2025, Planning Commission meeting minutes. Any questions, changes, additions, deletions? Members? None? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve as presented.
Lou made the motion. Is there a second?
Scott Wolfschlager, second.
Is a second. If you would start giving your vote approvals.
Scott Wolfschlager, aye.
John Eads, aye.
Tushar Desai, aye.
Lou Yang, aye.
Alan Egan, aye.
Tom Osmond, aye.
All right, all pass. We will now go to item number E, public hearing. Century Ponds Proposed Development, 601 Century Avenue North, Avenue South. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. If we go to the overhead slides, I have a handful of slides to walk through the staff report and discussion tonight. So as the Chair mentioned, we are looking at the Century Ponds Plan Unit Development. This is a proposed new residential development with 133 detached single-family homes and 73 single-family homes and 73 townhome units. This development is proposed to occur on the southwest quadrant of Lower Afton Road and Century Avenue South. This is the former site of the Ponds at Battle Creek Golf Course. The site is just over 92 acres in size. And then at the bottom of the slide, you can see the items that the applicant has submitted for city review and approval. These are land use applications that you're holding the public hearing for that include the comprehensive plan amendment, rezoning to a PUD, wetland buffer variance, and preliminary plat. Please note, public vacation, the city council holds the public hearing for that, so they'll take in any feedback if anyone has it on the actual vacation action, but the other items in bold are before you on a public hearing standpoint. Earlier this evening, the Community Design Review Board reviewed the design review of the townhomes, not the single-family homes, just the townhomes. They did recommend approval of that resolution with an added change that the townhome elevations be brought back to them before a building permit were to be issued with revised elevations that include a stone or masonry inclusion between 20 and 30%, and some other architectural elements that they would review. So they've set some guidelines for what they'd like to see, and if this project ultimately moves forward before a permit could be issued, they need to approve the final elevations of those townhome units. So to kind of talk about how the project got here, because I know the public hearing is scheduled for tonight, and it seems perhaps that this is kind of coming at the Planning Commission all at once. But this is a project that has been years in development, essentially, and that was kicked off by the Ramsey County decision to close the golf course, Ponds at Battle Creek, in 2019 as part of their budget process. Again, that was not a city of Maplewood decision, that was a county policy decision that they made. And as a result of that, the county and the city did conduct a joint community engagement process where several development scenarios were developed. These are not policy documents that were ever adopted by the city council, but it was essentially a process that was focused on what could happen with the site if development were to move forward, what were community values, what were the values of the county board, what were the values and expectations of the city council. So that, the Community Design Review Board, the Planning Commission, all were invited to participate that, and there were some members from each group that did do so. And then that led to Ramsey County taking what it learned from that process to make a policy decision to submit or release a request for proposal that led to ultimately a purchase agreement that they approved, they, in that case, Ramsey County, in October of 2023, with the applicant tonight, D.R. Horton. After that fact, throughout 2024, D.R. Horton held a series of neighborhood meetings, 6 total, where they talked through their concept, refined concept, and which ultimately led to the project that's before you tonight. They also had a discussion with the city council at a workshop last summer, where the council was able to provide feedback that the developer did work to incorporate in the project that you see tonight, including fewer single-family homes as far as a overall number. And then much of this year has been dedicated to environmental work. So the city did require what's called an environmental assessment worksheet, EAW, to assess the environmental impacts of such a development. And so that was developed through late spring and most of the summer, and then reviewed by the city council in August of this year, where they adopted a resolution stating that additional environmental review is not required. So all environmental review requirements have been satisfied. There are elements that came out of that EAW study that are incorporated into the approvals, including like timing of when trees would be removed, items like that. So those environmental sensitivities that were identified through the EAW would be incorporated into the approval documents. So looking at the proposed development itself, in the yellow are the single-family homes that are proposed, 133 units. Again, these would have attached 2 or 3 car garages, be focused on the north end of the development. On the south end of the development would be proposed 73 townhomes with attached 2 car garages. Just an element that came up in the design review board discussion. The 2 car garages also include driveway space in front that allow additional 2 cars to be parked within the unit area itself. And then all that green area that you see throughout the parcel is just over 42 acres of outlots, which include a public park, which is more the shaded parcel that you can see with the indication of the arrow, public park. And then wetlands, which are over 10.5 acres. And then the rest of the area will either be buffer or conservation areas. And then the city would require a conservation easement that it would be the holder of, but that the HOA would be charged and tasked with the maintenance of all these conservation easement areas, and to help ensure that the HOA would follow through on that in case something were to occur where the HOA went defunct. The city would put in a storm sewer improvement tax district, and what this allows the city to do, any areas of the development that go towards storm sewer management, whether it's actual physical infrastructure or the native planting areas, the buffer areas, if there's any maintenance that needs to occur there that's not being done, the city would be able to go in there, conduct those improvements and maintenance, and then charge those costs back to the parcels. That's what that tax district allows the city to do. That is something the city has utilized on other recent plats, smaller plats, for that same reason. So again, when we're looking at development that is really focused on conservation, the city wants to make sure that those elements stay in place for years down the road, and the tools are in place today to ensure that from a financial aspect, to make sure that they are maintained. And then the last point, 1.8 miles of public paved trails throughout the site. Again, not just trails for the development itself, but for general public use. And there is a connection to the existing neighborhood to the west and the northern kind of half on the west side. And that also leads to another public park that's just to the west of the development. So the first item, comprehensive plan amendment. The current controls of the property, the comp plan guides this site as parks, largely because it's been Ramsey County owned and it used to be a golf course. So it's a public agency owned land, so it has that designation. The zoning, farm, as many of the commissioners I'm sure know, does allow residential development at 10,000 square feet minimums. But the applicant is looking to re-guide the comp plan guidance to low-density residential, which is essentially anywhere that you don't see a color on the aerial map, they're also guided low-density residential. That's 2.6 to 6 units per acre overall, the net density is 4.15 units per acre. Net density takes out wetlands, steep slopes, and areas held in conservation easements. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site to plan unit development. Again, the current zoning is farm, but is part of a plan unit development. There is a negotiation that occurs between the development and the developer and the city. We'll walk through what some of those flexibility requirements that the developer is asking for. But again, what the city in turn has negotiated and asked for from the developer are much of those green areas, the public park, the trails, and those elements be added into the site to ensure that the entire site was not just wholly developed and that there would still be public assets included with the project. So the guide districts would be R1S, small lot, single dwelling districts for the single family homes, and R3C for the townhome units in the south. And this is, for those who recall, the city amended its plan unit development ordinance in 2019. And this is actually the first PUD that's been proposed since then. And it actually becomes codified in the ordinance where the specific requirements of this PUD will live in the ordinance so that anyone wanting to know what's the setback, what's the minimum lot area for that development would be able to look into the city ordinance to find that, as opposed to in the past it was done via resolutions, and then you'd have to kind of dig through city records to find that. So again, the purpose of a PUD is to allow flexibility from zoning standards in order to encourage efficient use of land, public services, and greater amenities. Also to promote development that is equal to or surpassing quality of developments resulting from application of conventional zoning standards. So again, looking for small lots, that's smaller lots, that's what the developer's looking for, and then the city had an interest in maintaining those public assets through the parks, trails, wetland areas, and other open space features. The standards are adopted into the city code, as I just mentioned, as opposed to a resolution, so that's more ease of use for everyone involved. And then this is the standards that the developer is looking to abide by. So you can see on the left-hand corner column, are the R1S requirements, so 7,500 square feet for lot area, a 60-foot lot width, and so on. This was included in your staff report. For the 55-foot wide lots, which there would be 78 overall, they're looking for a slightly smaller lot area and 5 feet shorter of a lot width in both just your general interior lots and also on the corner lots, and then establish a lot depth of 120 feet. You can see the setbacks largely do mimic what the city would require anyway, except for the side corner setback. And then lastly, the building lot coverage, you're looking again smaller lots, 40% building lot coverage max as opposed to 30%. On the 65-foot wide lots, which there would be 73, so almost an equal split between the two lot sizes. The developer would exceed lot area and lot width. For general lots, would be 10 feet under on quarter lot widths, and then again establish a lot depth and generally meet the setbacks for this zoning district. Townhouses, again, using the R3C zoning, largely are following what the zoning code would allow. But this would still be built in to the PUD, so we're not referencing multiple areas of the zoning code to understand what the setbacks are for this development. Additional standards that the city would be looking at, so access and circulation. The single-family homes would be accessed into the site via Lower Afton Road. You can see on the top of the site plan there, and Century Avenue, which is seen on the east side. The single-family homes would have public streets with 60 feet of right-of-way dedicated to the city, and then a 28-foot wide street, which is the city's standard currently for single-family development. The townhomes on the southern part of the site would be accessed via Linwood Avenue. I know there's been discussion as this project has developed about a desire to have the access to be on Century Avenue. The city did have lead discussions with both Washington and Ramsey counties who have jurisdiction on Century Avenue and work to advocate for that access on Century. The counties denied that access. They will not allow access on Century Avenue. Part of their rationale, there's many items that they've used, but you can even see it on the bottom of this where it says Linwood Avenue access. Century Avenue starts to curve away from the site, so there are some visibility concerns that they have. That's one amongst their rationale, but the bottom line is that the counties, Washington and Ramsey, will not permit a secondary access or a primary access for the townhomes off Century. So the sole remaining option would be to have off Linwood Avenue, as you can see on the south part. There would be no street connection between the north and south developments, so you cannot be in the single-family area and be able to, with a vehicle, travel to the townhomes or the other way. But there are trail connections between both sides of development and to, again, the west side of the development. Looking at the parking code, all units, whether they're single-family or townhome, require 2 spaces per unit with at least one covered. They're all being met by the garage that would be on site, but then they would also have additional driveway parking. Parking would be allowed on one side of the street. City doesn't allow overnight parking, so that would still, on the public streets in this development, would still hold true. But there would be, for during the day, the ability to park on the street on one side. In the townhome development, there are proposed 28 guest parking spaces spread throughout that area of the development. And then there would be 6 parking spaces dedicated at the proposed park to provide additional opportunity. As far as traffic, the developer conducted its own traffic study. The city did as well to verify the results of that. And both studies found that the existing roadways have adequate capacity and intersections will maintain the same level of service. So that does not mean an acceptable level of service. It is like what the level of service is today will be maintained. Additional standards that would be built into the PUD, the building height, no flexibility is being requested. Single-family homes and the townhomes would have a maximum height of 35 feet. Open space, again, there's not a requirement in either the PUD or the R1S district, but in the R3C, there is a 35% green space requirement. They're meeting that with the 55% green space percentage. And then across the entire development, it's at just under 47% green space. Some additional landscaping and screening requirements. Proposed tree preservation plan provides more caliber inches than what's required for mitigation, so those requirements would be met. The applicant would be required to replace some of the tree species to more resilient species. So our environmental staff will continue to work with the developer to come up with an approved species list. Also a requirement for shade trees to be on the south side of the park. And then, as I referenced earlier in regards to the EAW, the tree removal must occur as specified in the Minnesota DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service guidelines. A couple more points on additional standards. Exterior design approval. The appearance of all single-family homes in a PUD must be approved by the community development director. So just, again, design is not of the purview of this group, but I just want to mention too, the design board earlier, they only looked at the townhomes. Single-family homes have never been under the purview of the CDRB. That's not typical in cities, so that's not something they reviewed. With that said, you can see the building elevations have been proposed at neighborhood meetings, at the council workshop. There's been feedback given to the developer, and these are the elevations that would be landed. The developer has landed on, and ultimately the city council will review at their meeting. What gets approved by the city council will be included in the developer's agreement. So there will be, while it's not officially reviewed by the city, there is an expectation of what these building elevations would be as the development gets built out. The developer would not be able to change those elevations or scale them back without city council approval because it's, again, built into that developer's agreement. And there would also be a requirement that no adjacent or units or across the street units would have the same facade. So there's going to be variety as you go through a development. If this moves forward, D.R. Horton has their own standard as well for that. And then one other element that the city has been requiring on larger scale projects, a construction management plan to be approved by the Public Works Director. This outlines a contact for the developer, and then also a construction schedule, and then that contact who people from the neighborhood would be able to contact if they have the issues. Before they contact the city, they can always contact the city, but if there's a way for them to work with the developer to have that dialogue, there'd also be communication requirements from the developer to the neighborhood as that development progress, a dust mitigation plan, those elements that were outlined in the staff report. Signage is required to meet sign code and designed in consistent manner with development's building materials. Another item, the wetland buffer variance. The request for the variance would allow grading to occur in certain areas of the wetland buffer. You can see the blue teal areas that are highlighted. That's the area that the developer is looking for approval of a variance. In addition to grading, there are situations where existing trail segments from the golf course would be removed and new trails would be constructed, new public trails. Stormwater system enhancements, retaining walls, and then there's some areas of the townhomes where the patios and turf grass would extend in those portions. So again, the total required wetland buffer area for the entire development is just over 714,000 square feet, and then the proposed variance is just over 77,000 square feet. So there's a discrepancy between the total buffer area and then the areas that they're looking to do some work in on the edges of some of those wetland buffer areas. It should be noted that all average, depending on what type of wetland, it's either a 75-foot average setback or a 50-foot setback. All those averages are met in after conditions. So if the project is approved and the site is graded, and then the native plantings are put in, those after conditions, all wetland setbacks would be met. Public vacation, this is recognition of really what's on the ground. So as the developer moves forward and developing their plans, the current buffer easements, not all areas currently align with where the wetlands actually are. So the developer is proposing to vacate those areas in yellow that don't align with actual wetland areas. And then as part of the final platting process would dedicate the correct wetland buffer easements that would match what's actually on the ground. And then finally, the last item on the list of proposed requests is a preliminary plat. Aside from the flexibilities allowed through the PUD ordinance that we reviewed earlier, the proposed preliminary plat meets the minimum subdivision standards. This is the townhome elevations that we talked earlier about that the CDRB reviewed earlier at their meeting. Again, they recommended approval with the caveat of seeing a final building elevation before any building permits would be submitted to ensure that added architectural elements would be added, particularly to the rear and side elevations. So as this process has commenced, you saw department comments. Every department in the city had the opportunity to review and provide comments, as any project that goes through our process does. Specifically, engineering, environmental, and public safety provided comments for your review that were included in the staff report. Notifications were sent for the public hearing, which is being held by this group tonight, to the 220 surrounding properties within 500 feet, both in Maplewood and Woodbury. As I mentioned, CDRB, now this group, the Planning Commission, is reviewing this project tonight. The Environmental and Natural Resource Commission will review this project in October. The City Council ultimately makes all final decisions on all these requests, and they will see that at a future date, either the second meeting in October or potentially November, depending on how the process goes. But with conditions of approval found in the report, staff is recommending approval of each of the items that the Planning Commission is being asked to review. I am staff. I'm with the planning side, planning and zoning. We have two representatives from from engineering and can provide environmental feedback as well, if there's comments there. And then more importantly, before you start the public hearing, you have the applicant here present. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Members, do you have any questions for the staff before I open up the public hearing with the applicant? Go ahead, Paul.
What are they going to do about water filtration into the ponds? Is there some type of way to prevent that just running into there?
Chair Commission, what exactly are you talking about, the
Like
filtration?
the runoff and that's going to run into the ponds and that, are they going to have or is everything going to be storm sewer?
Yeah, so Chair, Commission, there's going to be storm sewer throughout the site. Before any of the runoff leaves the street section, there'll be sumped manholes to help capture any sediment that's in the runoff. Then those are going to flow out into sedimentation basins, which then overflow into filtration basins to help improve the quality of the water, and then those ultimately discharge off-site.
Okay. Did Met Council, did they, I know they're trying to push for high density. What was their feedback on this?
Chair and Commission, so yeah, that's a part of the comprehensive plan amendment if you looked into the actual resolution. So if the city council ultimately adopts this resolution, the Met Council has to approve it, the land use change. They don't provide preliminary comments up front. We have walked through the project with them. Again, they didn't provide comments. We feel that this would meet the requirements of Maplewood's comprehensive plan and would likely be approved by the Met Council, but that's another step of the process that would occur after the city council makes their decision.
So they can't come in and demand anything. The city still has control of that then, right?
Chair and Commission, the Met Council makes a decision if they approve the comprehensive plan amendment, if they feel it meets both the city's comprehensive plan and the metro-wide plans. Our comp plan has already been approved, and so again, we've reviewed what this is proposed against what the Met Council would require. We feel that it would be approved, but it's a process that the city would have to go through.
Now, the sewer too, that's a whole new system too, that's going in down there?
Chair, Commission, yes. So there'll be a whole new sewer system throughout the site. The northern part, the single-family home portion, will connect to the Met Council interceptor up along Lower Afton Road. The townhome portion of the site is actually going to tie into the city of Woodbury's sewer system at the corner of where Linwood Avenue makes that bend to the south. So this staff has been in contact with Woodbury, and we're working on a joint powers agreement should things move forward.
Because I know the houses on Linwood do not have sewer, they're septic. Is that going to be something in the future they'll be able to tap into too there, or?
Chair, Commission, so there's a portion of the properties on the south side of Linwood Avenue that are towards the east end of the project, towards where it makes that bend to the south, that would have direct access across Linwood Avenue, should this sewer system be put in. However, moving west from there, there would not be any sewer extended as part of this project. That would have to happen as part of a future public improvement project.
Is there a way to slow the traffic down on Linwood by more stop signs, or, I know you guys don't like speed bumps or anything, is there any way to slow the traffic down?
Chair, Commission, so, yeah, like you said, we don't typically put speed bumps in along streets like that. We do have, as part of a previous project, we put a speed display sign up a little bit further to the west along there. Those only work, for people that are reasonable with their driving. We could look at working with the Public Safety Department to do additional patrols and kind of, inform people down there to need to slow down. But as part of this project, this development, I don't see anything we can do with Linwood Avenue that would help slow things down. In the future, if Linwood Avenue is reconstructed, we could look at things like narrowing that street up and making it feel more constricted to help slow things down. But again, that would have to be as part of a future public improvement project.
Is there any plans in near future for re-improvement on that road since traffic is going to be increased, or is it still pretty, it's still pretty good, right?
Yeah, Chair, Commission, that's not currently in our 10-year or 5-year capital improvement plan. It is in fairly good condition at this time.
I think too, with the connection of trails that are going down to Linwood from this development that's being proposed, having, sidewalks or having, separating out the pedestrian access on Linwood would be very beneficial, considering that right now you basically can't walk down Linwood without getting run over by a vehicle.
Any other questions?
Is there I know that we do the tree calculations by the removal of trees. Is there anything that they're going to put in that in the future when they do a blank development, because it was a golf course of some kind of calculation that should be put in? Like, let's say you should at least have 2 trees in your property or something.
Chair and Commission, no, there's not a hypothetical formula that the city would use. The city is using what was on the site for the calculations, but again, the developer is far exceeding what those requirements would be, so.
But that's only because there were hardly any trees though, right?
Perhaps, but
Right.
again, the city has to deal with the real-time conditions, and the plantings that are proposed throughout the single-family areas and the townhomes would be consistent with what you would see in that type of development.
Was there any studies done for what this development could be? It sounds like there was a bunch of proposals sent in about what they were going to do with this property before the D.R. Horton was kind of selected to move forward. What was that process, I guess? And then was there any like study done by the city or by the county that would help inform, I guess, the best use of land there?
Yeah, Chair and Commission, at the beginning of the presentation, there was that discussion of the engagement process in 21, 22, that's what that was, that the city and county hired a third-party consultant to lead that process and design site plans based on the feedback that was given and using development codes in Maplewood. So these were realistic potential developments. They weren't, density that would not be allowed or anything like that. So it's those development scenarios. Again, there wasn't anything that was adopted as policy of like, well, anything that falls within these parameters will be approved, but it gave developers moving forward a picture of what the county and the city had conceptualized that had potential for that site. And that's ultimately what led to the county working through their process and making a policy decision to sell the land to the applicant tonight.
Staff, I'm just wondering, how much of this argument the comprehensive plan?
Chair and Commission, how much is what of the
How
comprehensive
much of
plan?
this development, the argument, the comprehensive plan that was approved?
So the entire site would need to be amended for the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
You had also mentioned something about the code changing. I don't remember exactly, I didn't want to interrupt you, but is this just for this development, or are we actually changing some of the codes?
Chair and Commission, no, it's just for this development. So those development standards, again, that's what would come back to plan unit development. And this would be, because this is the first one since the ordinance was changed in 2019, this would, from a zoning code standpoint, it would be PUD-01. It'd be the first district of a PUD. And these standards only apply to this development. So if a new PUD happened elsewhere in the city, we would start from the beginning and develop those standards from scratch. But in terms of any existing zoning districts that are outside of PUDs, no, those standards are not changing. We are not doing any code amendments to the zoning code.
Is there going to be enough room with 7'5" between lot lines? Is that shrinking down too much?
Chair and Commission, so again, that would, so both homes would have that equals the 15 feet, as opposed to the other conditions that the zoning code would allow or kind of create is 5 from one home and 10 from one home, and that still equals 15 feet. So either way, yes, there's a shared property line down the middle, it's still 15 feet home to home. It's just now these homes are more centered on the lots.
So I have a question regarding the wetlands. So like some input from the engineering people, looking at the set of prints that I received, I'm looking at the base of the wetland to the base of the footprint of the home that would be built there, and I'm seeing around 10 feet of elevation change. Was any study done as to how much water can this area hold before there would be a flood inside the homes? Especially I'm concerned primarily about the south portion because it's kind of surrounded by wetlands and retention ponds, and they're all without basements because they don't have basements to those townhouses. So it would go directly on the ground floor. So that's what I'm interested in hearing.
Sure, Chair, Commission. So our standards require at least 2 feet of elevation difference between the 100-year high water level of all of those wetlands, all the ponds, the infiltration basins on the site, and that low floor of the buildings throughout the site. In addition to that, we require those low floor elevations to be 1 foot above the emergency overflows throughout the project. So that is something we've reviewed. Our consultant engineer did note a handful of them that didn't meet that freeboard requirement, so we're going to work with the developer to rectify that issue.
Okay, so essentially, you're going by the 100-year rule for how much moisture is going to be coming down in a 24-hour period.
Chair, Commission, that's correct.
Okay, and that's in the code, so that's not subject to change.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
You indicated, when we were talking about the sewer, you indicated that there is an ongoing talk between Maplewood and Woodbury to share the sewer, delivery and other stuff. Is that the same thing with the water supply?
Chair Commission, no, that's not the same. So St. Paul Regional Water Service is the supplier of all the water in this area. So they're going to connect up on the north end along Lower Afton Road into St. Paul Regional Water Service. And then they're also going to extend water down Linwood Avenue to the west and connect into St. Paul Regional Water Services system over there to loop that water through the site. So there will not be any connection into Woodbury's water system.
If there are no other questions, I'll open it up for the applicant to come up. Please give your name, address. I think you may have already done it for the CRBU. So
Yes.
we have that, so please just verbally tell us your name.
My name is Deb Ridgway with D.R. Horton. We have a group of people with us tonight, both from D.R. Horton and Alliant Engineering. Alliant is doing the engineering on the project, so between the two of us, we should be able to answer questions that you have. But just want to introduce ourselves. We're excited to get to this next step. It's been a 2-year process so far, so we are definitely taking our time to make sure we have all the details right, and we're excited to bring this forward. So we're here for questions. Thank you.
How long do you anticipate this project to run until you've built out the entire development?
So from the first day of moving dirt, which would happen probably in the spring, to the last home being constructed, it's probably going to be a 3 to 4 year process. Obviously, depending on market conditions.
Yep, interest rates and all that stuff is
Right,
gonna
right,
make a
yep.
big difference, but that's your basic projection. That's what you would
Yes.
like to see.
Yes.
How long does it take to put the roads in? Is that just a?
Well, we'd probably phase those, so we would do probably half the site in 2026, and then depending on sales go, in 2027, we put the rest in. So it would take a spring through fall. So we would, essentially, if we can start construction in spring, we'd be building our first houses probably in fall.
That's starting from the north end?
Well, I guess that would be how the utilities are getting looped and so on.
Good evening, I'm Mike Sewell with D.R. Horton. Right now, we're anticipating that we'll probably grade the whole site in the first year, just because 46% of it's going back to native. And the sooner we can get that native grass established and get it growing, we can get a better site long-term. And then I think the townhomes would come in the first year, and then half of the single families would come the first year. We just need to visit with our engineering staff. Your engineering staff, St. Paul Waterings, decides it better to work east to west, north to south on their single-family residential area. So some of that we still need to work out with the different staffs to make sure that the infrastructure we put in serves what's getting built. So we'll have more information at final plat, but right now we're still trying to make sure we have the right layout, and then we can start figuring out the nuts and bolts on how to build it.
So with that comment, is there any possibility that the number of units may change?
No, once the preliminary plat is approved, that sets the units. I don't think there's gonna be any changes. I mean, maybe we'll lose one unit with the park, but I think right now the park is pretty well laid out and we're feeling good about it, but, so I don't think the units will change.
The only possibility exists that you may delay some of the development of the homes based on the economy, the interest rates and all that stuff.
Correct.
So it could exceed beyond 3 years.
Yeah, and we do build homes that don't have a buyer, because it helps with our house construction management, if we can keep the concrete, the framing guys and every electrician and plumbers all planned out. So we may start a couple homes each month. Some may be sold, some may not be sold, but it works for a better project flow for our construction team, so not every home will be sold when it starts, hopefully a lot of them, but we'll have to wait and see what the market does.
So there's no way that somebody's going to come in and say, I want to be way down over there, right, because you're going to start in a process down the road.
They could, but then they're going to have to wait till we get to that process. And then, as you guys probably are well aware of, that the last few years, the price of homes and construction materials go up. So what you're looking at today may not be the price of your home when we finally get to that part of the lot. We do some, but it's all within the area for our first phase area. We won't jump to the second phase until we got enough done in the first phase.
Do you see anything negative about the property there, or anything? Do you see, it seems like everything's, the soil and everything's there good for building on and everything, and?
From an engineering standpoint, the soils are good. We've had our geotechnical engineers out there looked at it. We did soil borings. We've done some soil test pits because the neighbors talk about some groundwater issues, so we're just wanting to make sure we understand that. And between Alliant and our geotechnical engineer, Braun, we think we have a handle on what to expect out there, but soils are soils, so we'll have to be flexible as we move forward if we find something.
Any other questions from the members here?
Nope.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I'll open up the hearing to the public. Whoever wishes to come up here and speak about this subject matter, please come one at a time. Please put your name down on the list there and your address. And please try to limit your discussions to 3 minutes. And if the prior person has already spoken about a given subject, no sense in repeating it because we have taken note of it. So who would like to come up, if anybody is interested in coming up?
Hi, I'm Chuck Hanna from Hillwood Drive, 2552 Hillwood. I've got questions about the wetland delineation and the variance for the lots 18 through 22. Is there anything else they can do? Can you push that back? And I know it would require redrawing it, but I feel like that buffer was such a battle 15 years ago with the city to get that put in. And then we went through the setbacks. John might be able to tell you, like 2010, 2012, 2013, there was a big pushback on that. And now it seems like we're dropping back just to get 5 more units in on that corner. I'm concerned about the quality of that pond, considering I own property on it. And we've seen it degrading for the past few years. I don't think this is going to help. And I think every little bit that if we take away that buffer, just to put in 5 more units, I don't think it's going to help.
Have you seen flooding out of that pond?
There's no flooding on that pond, no. It's just sort of a water quality issue. And I know when the parks, or when the golf course went in, you know, they worked with the watershed, they wanted to create those buffer zones beyond the wetland delineation, so there's delineation in the buffer zone. So by eliminating that, we're just going to be adding, you know, turf up above, sediment or whatever is going to wash through that area. And I know it's just one small area in it, but it's kind of a crucial area. I do like the 6 parking spots in that area that come around, and I think that's part of it. I'm asking, is that 6 parking spots part of the area you're asking for the variance for? Or is it just the units?
I'm trying to figure out what you're asking. You're talking about.
Yep, it's a vacation. Yep. No, you've asked for a variance on the buffer. Right now, yep, it's highlighted right there.
That would not,
That's the vacation.
can we somehow bring it in? Otherwise, it's become,
Tom, can we bring that and put it on the?
Yes.
We could have the overhead camera, please. So Chair and Commission, just as you kind of work through seeing the plan there, so in terms of the easement aspect, That's not being necessarily vacated to accommodate the additional units. It's being vacated because it doesn't match up with the wetland boundary itself, and then the boundaries that would be needed to be dedicated through what the wetland actually is, and that buffer requirement would be rededicated essentially on the plat.
And where would they-
Changing the designation from a A to a B or C, is what you're saying?
It's not, no, it's not changing the designation of the wetland itself. It's when the delineation was done, it's this, the delineation from this year is showing the actual edges of the wetlands as they exist, and that was not in line with where the previous easements were created. And so the easements will still, there will still be an easement there over the buffer area. It just will match the actual delineated edge.
So it would match, the buffer would not be eliminated, it would just match the edge?
I'll let
How would you
our
do-
engineering staff to confirm.
So Chair, Commission, so like Michael said, the vacation that is being proposed is because that current wetland buffer easement does not match up with the recently delineated wetland edge. So what they're asking to do is vacate that portion. Yes, it accommodates additional townhomes where that's being vacated, but it's not being done solely for that purpose. It's being done because that buffer easement doesn't align with the delineated wetland edge. So a new buffer easement will be dedicated based off of the recently delineated wetland.
And where will that be on that plan? Will that be in the same?
There, yeah.
That blue
Is that the
dash
heavier
line.
dash line?
Yeah.
Commission, it's the dash line that provides that buffer, the buffer edge. So there's two dash lines that we're looking at. The darker one is the buffer edge, and the lighter dash is the edge of the wetland itself. And so the easement will follow the line of the darker dash line.
Okay, so it's not to accommodate four more.
Correct. Chair and Commission, it's
Four
not to
more units.
accommodate additional units. Now, they're definitely using the fact that that area is not within the buffer area to put units, but there's not a nexus between why it's being vacated and kind of the city giving back wetland buffer area. That wetland buffer area is still being required. It just follows a different path based on the most recent delineation.
And is that the same for up above in that other tan area?
Chair and Commission, correct. There's two areas of vacated areas that are being requested, and it's the same situation for both, where the easement that's in place does not match what it should. And so it's really a corrective measure to get the easements in place to match the wetland and the wetland buffers.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
My name is Marlos Howells. I live at 566 Deer Ridge Lane, which is adjacent to the ponds. I guess I've got two questions. This was a golf course. Who is removing soil? Is the city removing soil from the golf course, or is the developer?
Developer.
I mean, it's an environmental
Chair and
situation.
Commission, so the developer will be doing the construction of the project. The city will have either our staff or a consulting helping with the inspection of the project as it gets developed.
And this is going to be monitored by the city of Maplewood?
That is
Removal
correct.
of the soil?
Yep.
Okay.
What-
Just
what-
check.
What's your concern about the soil?
Well, this was a golf course.
Oh, you mean
There were
like fertilizer?
pesticides and fungicides and all of this stuff spread on the golf course. And these are potentially carcinogens in the soil. And if you're just going to let them develop over the top of it, that's not very smart. Okay? So I'm asking right now to find out who's removing the soil. Because my guess is you're going to have to remove about a foot at least. Okay? The second thing, and I find this interesting. The townhomes at the south end, 73 of them, potentially, that's 146 cars that you are now going to drop on Linwood Avenue. We already have tremendous traffic on Linwood Avenue. And I'm saying, how are you going to amend this situation? Because you're going to increase traffic, and it's going to become a very big mess down there. My guess is 73 townhomes are a few too many, okay? Especially since you're asking for an, to put, when I was looking at it, they wanted to amend the buffer region on one of the big ponds, because that's where the townhomes sit. And I don't think that's a very smart idea. We already have contamination in those ponds, and if you're gonna allow them to waive the buffer zone, you're gonna have more contamination. So I guess those are my two big points, the traffic and the soil, okay?
Thank you.
Is it possible the developer could come up and explain that the dirt's not going to be removed? Because I know
I
that's
can't hear you.
Let her finish.
Okay.
We'll ask the developer to
Okay,
come up,
okay. Thanks, thank you.
Okay.
Can the developer come up and answer all questions, please?
Regarding the soils, we've had 2 environmental testing done out there to check the soils, because she's not incorrect. Golf courses over a long period of time will have some metals and some carcinogens in there. The good news is this golf course started later in pesticides and fungicides life, so the stuff they use are not as bad as they did in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. So that's a good thing. And our testing showed no issues with what was out there. And we test pretty heavily because we're ultimately building the home and selling these homes. And it's a risk for us to sell homes and then have something turn up. So we've done extensive testing out there. Right now, we're not planning to haul anything out of this site. She is correct again that on some golf courses, especially on greens and tee boxes where they really fertilize and go extra heavy, you end up having to take a foot or so out of the green areas. At this point, we're not planning on it. We will continue, as staff has mentioned, that as grading occurs, we'll have to continue testing and make sure we don't find any areas. And then if we do find areas, the material will have to be hauled out by a licensed hazardous material person, hauled to a proper site, all approved by the PCA. So there's a lot of steps if we're going to start hauling material out. Right. But as of right now, nothing's come back, but we'll keep testing. And I don't know if the city will have a consultant that representing them that they may want to test some, but we'll work with whoever the city decides. But we are concerned, but so far our testing says we don't have to be concerned yet.
Is there a way to make that public on the sharing information so that they can see that that information's been done? Because I know she's not going to only be on one that's going to question that. There's going to be other people that are going to question it. To put that to rest, to know that the soil conditions are...
In our disclosure documents that we provide to buyers, that go through multiple levels of attorneys and making sure we are disclosing everything properly, we will have something in there about a golf course, previous use of a golf course that has been tested, and depending on how the buyer, what information the buyer needs, we can provide that as we go.
But you don't want to put it on the public website for the residents in the area?
We normally do not put our environmental information out there.
Okay, I figured.
Because it's ours right now, so.
Right, I figured.
And the EAW reviewed it also, so we've been through the public review of the environmental.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Debbie Hager. I'm not a public speaker, so bear with me. I live on Linwood, 2670 Linwood, and we are very concerned about Linwood and the the traffic that the nice lady ahead of us spoke about. Linwood is 2 lane, 1 lane each way. It's a very narrow road. It's backed up, like when the school buses come. And when they say that this extra traffic is not going to matter, it will matter. We have no sidewalks, and D.R. Horton is planning on putting sidewalks only in front of the townhomes. That does not do us any good. If there was sidewalks all the way on both sides, that would help, but that's not anything in the proposal. The other thing is, we are requesting a buffer, and we've mentioned this many times, that we would like a buffer in front of the townhomes, so we don't have to stare at all the townhomes. We've lived there we've been there for 6 years, and now we're just gonna have all the houses. Another thing is, why can we not have the exit on Linwood go straight through their own neighborhood? Why does it have to come onto Linwood, which is so tight as it is? That's a lot of homes to be putting extra traffic, extra people coming in and out of. Very dangerous. And I think that was about all I had. So,
Are you neighbors with the Gregersons?
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Are they on Linwood?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else wishes to speak?
Hi, my name is Mike Hager. I live at 2670 Linwood Avenue, husband of the previous speaker. The question I have is, and I brought this up multiple times, why can't the park be up closer to Linwood? 2 reasons. One is to have a park to look out at would be much better than looking at townhomes. And I also think that having a park closer to Linwood would make it more accessible, and I think more people would actually use it. And I know the number of townhomes would be too big to put in the park area, but could we have some of those that are closest to Linwood be moved into the designated park area, and the park area move closer to Linwood Avenue? So that's my request.
Anyone else wishes to speak?
My name is Bill Dorgan. I'm a resident in Crestview Forest. I do not border the property, but I'm right next to it. We were involved in this process for 2.5, 3 years, I think. And I remember the first time we became aware of the study that they did in Ramsey County in terms of the development for the golf course when they made the decision to close it. It was during COVID, and many of us were not aware of any community involvement at that time. There were many people who went to the meetings that Horton had, and it was the first time they'd learned of the development and what was planned. It was disappointing, and but I know it's come to this, and we're here just representing the community out of concern for some of the elements. They've changed some of what they're looking at and planning to do. And the one thing I would find difficult to understand is the number of units that are in the townhouse area that only have one access, and that's with Linwood. Again, I can't help but mention that, and the answer we hear is, well, Ramsey and Washington County decided they just wouldn't allow on Century Avenue another access, and that's the end of it, you know. So If something is unreasonable in terms of what we're left with, and they are left with, is one access for all those units, it doesn't make any sense at all. And particularly with what you're doing to Linwood. It's a disaster waiting to happen. The issue that I was concerned about was the soil. And for all that that represents in terms of what we hear about golf courses, nothing's been mentioned about that to the public. And when it was brought up, it was dismissed. But the fact of the matter is it's there, and how it's handled is important, and the fact that people know. And what we've just been told is, well, there'll just be a provision in the purchase agreement that'll cover that. Well, you know, if it's that much of an issue, why wouldn't it be mentioned, and why wouldn't it be take public notice with everything else that we're dealing with here and concerns we have with setback and so forth? The other question I have has to do with, and it's concerned with, a homeownership associations. Horton has explained to us in the past, so that's the last thing they're going to get involved with because they've never done that in their developments throughout the United States or the projects they've had. But we know for a fact that given the intensity of the developments and the closeness of the homes, that without that, things will deteriorate, and that we need that in modern developments for families and for homeowners. So I would like to just mention that I would think that that would be something that someone along somewhere would cover and mention as an important factor, that there be a requirement of a homeowners association made up of owners who will help maintain the quality of the project.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak? Not. One question or request I have is if the developer would like to address any of the comments that were made today, if they wish to, or otherwise I can close the public hearing.
Hello again. On the HOAs, I think there was maybe misunderstanding. We actually do HOAs. We prefer not to do HOAs, and maybe that's what the gentleman heard at the neighborhood meetings, but we know we are going to have one out here. So we're actually going to have an HOA for the townhomes. We're going to have a master HOA for the entire community to maintain the native and natural areas, and then we'll have another HOA for the single-family homes. So essentially, there'll be 3 HOAs. So 2 HOAs covered by 1 master. Did you want to answer anything else, Mike?
Is there any projections on the cost that it's going to cost homeowners to do that?
So we haven't run numbers on what the maintenance aspect is going to be for the native areas. My guess is it would be about $25 a month per home, and that's just to manage the native areas. The townhomes right now, we're running about $300 a month for a townhome. And a lot of that cost is in insurance. Insurance continues to rise, and we're finding it difficult to find providers to even bid on insurance for our multifamily. So, but most recent ones were at about $300 a month.
And how long are these HOAs managed? Is Horton going to hand over once the development is complete to the HOA, and then HOA will deal with it, and if there are issues, then the city steps in?
So that's a great question. Townhomes are actually, they're under Minnesota statute, and so common interest communities At 50% sold and closed, we have to bring one of the homeowners onto the declarant board. And the declarant would really be D.R. Horton. So in the beginning, we sit on the boards for these HOAs. At 50%, we bring a homeowner on the board, and then at 75%, we have to turn over the full HOA. We try to, we do our best to set up the HOAs financially to make sure that they're collecting the correct amount of money. Again, with townhomes, there's Minnesota statutes where you have to have a maintenance program in place, and so you have to collect money for certain maintenance items that need to be reviewed annually. Single families are a little bit different. We have the ability to maintain declarant control until we are completely sold out. We don't like to do that, but we typically turn over at about 80%. So, and yes, then the homeowners are on the board, and then the homeowners get to choose management companies. They get to create their own budgets and all that good stuff.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, question for you. It seems to me that there's a lot of questions regarding the soil condition. It's indicated over here that there was an EIS studies being done and nothing is being outstanding. So the neighbors are very, very concerned about the soil condition. How much information do you think you're going to provide them between you and the city so that they can be rest assured about what is going on, that this is not just a brown field over there or something like that?
On the environmental for the soils, our testing came back and showed that everything was below the state level, the PCA state level that they set for each chemical metals that are out there. We included a summary in our EAW. The actual testing we have not released, and I don't know if we've ever released it because it's not something we normally do. I guess if the city comes back and says they want more information, then we'll have to figure out a way to get more information on it. But I know what the residents are concerned about, and we developed a separate golf course site up in Dayton, and it was there 50, 60 years. And the chemicals and the metals in the soils were a lot different, and they required a whole lot of different handling than this one that had a short life. I mean, the golf, and it didn't start till later until the 2000s. I'm trying to remember the date that it actually started. So the different type of chemicals the golf courses were using changed over time. So golf courses have changed their management too from what people are referencing. So I'm not concerned about it because we've tested it multiple times, but we can work with city staff if people think that's what needs to be put out there for the residents' comfort.
Okay, thank you. All right. Since there are no other speakers, I will close the public hearing. Planning Commission members, your opportunity to ask any further questions that you may have regarding this subject matter today.
Staff, are those project links that are put on that one main PDF sheet, is that publicly available for everybody?
Yes, Chair and Commission, so there is a development page, and this happens with all projects that come through this entitlement process before the Planning Commission. So there's a maplewoodmn.gov/Century Ponds, one word, that gets you to the development page, and that has, every link that you're seeing of every plan, including the kind of how we got here, the EAW, everything related, project related is on that website.
Well, I was gonna say the geotech report is part of that too, and so if people are interested in searching for that information, it's out there as well. My concern is also kind of Linwood and funneling just traffic one way. Do we need to go to our county representatives and try to advocate that way to see if there's possibilities to get Century Avenue as an entrance point to the townhomes.
I think the other part of that, though, too, is there an opportunity to connect the townhomes over to the single-family homes and have it be one cohesive neighborhood versus kind of two separated neighborhoods with a path connecting them, and all of the townhomes go south onto Linwood, and all of the rest goes to Century and up to Lower Afton. It seems like there's an opportunity to connect all of that through and not make it so everyone has to go to Linwood. And most people at that point, I think, would actually head north out of the townhomes, and they would go to Lower Afton, they would go to Century to get out.
Chair and Commission, that type of change, would definitely would need a different traffic study. I think I don't know that everyone's heading north. 494's access is right there to the southeast, so I think.
But it would still be easier to get from onto Century and then get down to 494. As someone who lives right in that area, I know getting off of Linwood, getting onto Lake, or getting onto, Century, then over to Lake, is a pain. And I've almost been hit by people coming off of Linwood as I go south on Century there. Many, many times. I'm always very cautious when I turn onto Century and the people coming off of Linwood, because I know that they've been waiting. They're eager to get out too. They're trying to get through the traffic. So I've been almost hit many, many times. So I'm always very cautious of that intersection.
Chair and Commission, I definitely would invite our engineering staff to comment on the general question. I think there will definitely be more traffic impacts on Linwood if you connect the two neighborhoods together.
Chair and Commission, the other aspect of that is all the wetland complexes that land in between. So I don't know if extending a roadway through them to make a connection into the single-family home neighborhood is really what would be the recommended idea there.
Well, I believe the question was, can we impact the decision of Washington County for our Ramsey County not allowing additional exit on Century?
Chair and Commission, so the counties have the ultimate say on what that is. They have reviewed it. There was a number of items that they referenced for why they were not allowing it. So that, they do have that ultimate say.
Well, I tell you what, technically, yes, there was a traffic study being done over here in terms of, which is a number issue and other stuff. Probably that is what they are going about. But physically, it seems to me that the residents are concerned, and the danger in accessing the roads over there, we all can see it's a very sharp corner, I was there too. So, the county, do they give any other alternative?
Chair and Commission, no. Their response and their direction was that they were not going to allow an access point off of there. That was their direction after they reviewed the traffic studies. Two studies have been done. Linwood is a collector, major collector road. It's not, the study's not saying that there won't be increased traffic levels on the road, but that road is designed for this level of traffic. It did not move the needle on that there had to be additional improvements, widening of the roads, or anything like that. So it still falls within the range of volume of traffic that we would anticipate for that type of road.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and we don't want our point to be touched either.
We have no power.
Listen, I think the other consideration there too is that
And they don't.
No.
the people that are coming, either trying to get to Linwood from coming south on Century, also the people coming on Linwood getting east, wanting to get onto Century, would probably use it as a shortcut to get over there, as opposed to going down south on Linwood to the other Century connection. There's a lot of Century connections right there for people who are familiar with it. So I think the connecting the townhomes to Century would create a shortcut that people would take and they would speed through the townhomes, I think is what you would end up seeing there. So I can understand not wanting to connect there. I think that would create a danger in the townhomes themselves on that road. But I also see the issue with just putting all these places, forcing them onto Linwood, and having one access point for that many townhomes is a concern.
Okay. Any other comments regarding other than the traffic that we have talked about? Anything else? Any other issues that you need to bring up?
I mean, I guess
Do
I
we-
had a concern about just the land use in general.
Uh-huh.
I don't necessarily want to rehash it. It sounds like it's been studied, although it also sounds like there's a lot of people who felt they were in the dark when these studies happened. They happened during COVID. They happened, when people maybe had other things on their mind, other things they were paying attention to. This was not a high priority probably of what was happening with city development at the time, maybe. So that would probably be my biggest concern, I think, right now with the development is this the best use of land? It feels like there were studies done. I don't know how well, I guess, it was engaged on that. I wasn't a resident at the beginning of this. I kind of came in, I moved in 21, so it's, already a little ways into the process. It wasn't something on my radar at the time. It became on my radar when they started doing the community meetings, as well as, sounds like some other folks here as well. That was when I got kind of a little bit, at least I went to some of the community meetings, all that kind of stuff. I guess, yeah, the big concern for me is this the proper land use for this area? I know Ramsey County did a study for land use in general in terms of tax dollars and value per acre and that kind of piece, understanding properties. There was an Urban 3 study done that showed trying to make sure your city is sustainable in the sense that it makes the money needed to pay for infrastructure updates, that type of sustainable. It's a resilient city, maybe you would say, more than sustainable. It's resilient. It can handle the change, and when you need to go through and do your sewer updates, you need to go through and repave things. You're not pulling as much money because your value is there, your tax dollars are there. What you need to get the projects done is in your community versus saying, we don't have enough money, let's get some federal grants to try to help pay for this, that kind of thing. I know the city is doing a great job. We've seen the reports. We've been given those reports that the city is doing things to pay down amounts. The city, I think, is doing a lot of right things, trying to make that stuff correct, but it's just, we have very few developable, like large areas of developable land, especially South Maplewood. There's 2, I think, this being one, and then the one just north of the correction facility. I think those 2 properties are the only things that I've seen when I look at the map of things that are developable. And so making sure we're using those properly and well, this is on 2 very busy 2 very busy roads. Is this the best use of this land? Having a bunch of single-family homes and a handful of townhomes, is that the best use of land? Is that the best, thing for our city long-term in terms of the tax dollars that we're going to need to redo roads, to redo infrastructure, to, do all those pieces? It's just making sure that we're doing the right thing for the city, not just for this moment in time, but for long-term too.
Okay, thanks. Staff, we received this 2. Are they
Yeah,
going
thank you,
into the
Chair and
record?
Commission. So at each of your desks before the meeting, there's a few copies in the back as well. So after the Planning Commission report came out, there were 2 additional comments that we wanted to make sure that you received. They will be included in staff reports moving forward. But they were not in time for staff to be able to insert them tonight. So
Sounds good.
just wanted to make sure you had them there. Generally, same kind of concerns about traffic and other aspects, potentially past city decisions.
It's the same thing.
I've worked on that street, and the traffic flies by there quick, that's why there needs to be some kind of something to slow it down.
All right.
The only request I have is you name one of the streets after me.
Good luck. Never happened, but anyhow, any other questions before I take this to vote? And for Paul's benefit, we have got Tom online, so he's listening. I didn't give, my apologies, Tom. Do you have any questions, comments you wish to
No,
add?
that's exactly what you're saying. And your questions have covered mine.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I just realized that you were still
No,
online.
I would have spoken up. No, the questions were asked that I was thinking.
All right, so for the benefit that we have Tom online, we will take a vote, and when we take a vote, you each personally have to give your name and your vote so that it is recorded in the system as to who said yea and who said nay, okay? We did that earlier before you came, so I just am repeating, so you are on the same page as the rest of us. Okay? Since there is no further discussions, is there a motion for the project at hand here?
Chair and Commission, there are 5 different elements, and we would ask
Yeah.
that there'd be 5 different motions and votes.
Motions, okay, sounds good. So who wants to take motion B?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve a resolution amending the 2040 Comprehensive Plan's future land use map to re-guide the project properties from park to low-density residential.
Is there a second?
Second, John.
John seconds. For a vote, we'll start with Scott and work our way down for the vote. Scott?
Scott Wolfschlager, nay.
John Eads, yes. Paul Arbuckle, yes.
Tushar Desai, yes.
Lou Yang, yes.
Alan Eager, yes.
Tom?
Osmond, yes.
Okay, so we have 5 ayes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ayes and 1 nay. Is it 7, 6? 6 yes and 1 nay for a correction. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot to take my shoe off, okay. The next motion, who wants to take that one on?
I take this.
Okay,
Motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 44 zoning of the Maplewood City Code to establish PUD-01 Century Ponds as planned unit development district.
is there a second?
John, second.
We'll take the vote again, starting with Scott, please.
Scott Wolfschlager, nay.
John Eads, yes. Paul Arbuckle, yes.
Tushar Desai, yes.
Lou Yang, yes.
Alan Eager, yes.
Tom?
Osmond, yes.
6 yes, 1 no. There is the next recommended action. Who's taking that on?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution, that my computer went off, of a wetland buffer variance.
Second, please.
Second, Lou.
Lou is seconded. Scott, your vote?
Scott Wolfschlager, no.
John Eads, yay. Paul Arbuckle, yes.
Tushar Desai, yes.
Lou Yang, yes.
Alan, yes.
Tom?
Osmond, yes.
Okay, we've got the same 6-1 vote moving down. The next one is on the public vacation. Who wants to take that on?
Motion to approve a resolution for the public vacation of an easement.
Is there a second?
Second,
Seconds it. Scott?
Scott Wolfschlager, no.
John Eads, yes. Paul Arbuckle, yes.
Tushar Desai, yes.
Lou Yang, yes.
Alan Eager, yes.
Osmond, yes.
Okay, that's again a 6-1. Last one is a resolution on a preliminary plat. Who wants to take that on?
Make a motion to approve a resolution for a preliminary plat.
Second?
Second,
Second. Scott, your vote, please.
Scott Wolfschlager, no.
John Eads, yes. Paul Arbuckle, yes.
Tushar Desai, yes.
Lou Yang, yes.
Alan Eager, yes.
Osmond, yes.
6-1 again. So the motions all carry. This will go to the,
Chair and Commission, yeah, it will find its way to the city council, either the second meeting in October or one of the meetings in November, most likely. I would encourage people to follow that webpage, maplewoodmn.gov/Century Ponds. The date will be listed there as well in the council agendas. It'll also be published in the Pioneer Press 2 weeks prior to the council meeting, when that date is established as a public hearing due to the vacation. So lots of ways to find out when the council meeting is. There's not a definitive date, is the takeaway I want to have today, so people need to check.
okay, for those in the audience, Planning Commission makes a recommendation, the approvals still go to the city council for the final approval, just so you folks are aware. where the final decision lies.
It won't be open to the public comments at that point.
That's correct. There will be no public comments, except for one.
Chair and Commission, the council will hold a public hearing on the vacation.
Correct.
So that there will be ability to speak on the vacation at that point. Obviously, anyone can contact their council member at any point to talk about whatever they'd like regarding the project.
All right, thank you. We will now go on to new business. There is none.
Chair and Commission, staff has nothing further for you tonight.
There is none for unfinished business. Anything for commission presentations from commission members? Tom, you have anything?
No, thanks for taking the heavy work tonight. I've been following, and you guys answered all the questions I had.
Thank you. Staff presentations?
Nothing.
Mike, do you send out emails to invite us to those meetings?
Chair and Commission, do you mean like have a planning commission representative at the city council meeting?
No,
or-
at the, like, when Horton has a city meeting with the residents and that, do we?
Chair and Commission, so the city doesn't handle the invites for their developer meetings and neighborhood meetings, so the city did not send out anything. And I'm not aware that they sent out anything to commission.
Well, I think they've already held all the meetings that they were going to hold.
Correct, but I'd like to go to one of them prior to this, and get a little more feel for what's going on, because getting this on Friday is kind of hard to digest.
Yeah, right, including the sprints that you need to give back, but I don't think, I don't think they're gonna hold any more meetings. Is that correct?
Right, but I mean,
Okay.
prior to that, the last 2 years, it would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been nice to let planning commission know. Okay, so there are no visitor presentations, so we shall adjourn at 8:27 PM.
Thanks, everyone.